Two recent Golden Globe nominees, and one of them won the category for supporting actor. Maybe some Oscar nominations in the cards as well for Judas and the Black Messiah and The Little Things. Let's talk about them. Hey everybody, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my review, spoiler-free review, I should point out, for Judas and the Black Messiah and The Little Things. Judas you can stream on HBO Max right now for a little while longer. The Little Things is still in theaters, but we'll be coming back to HBO Max in a little bit. HBO Max, sort of the home this year of releasing concurrent movies in theaters and on HBO Max from Warner Brothers. And there's only a 28-day window, though, so The Little Things is already off of there, but Judas still on for another couple of weeks. But possible Oscar nominations in the cards, too, because both of these movies were nominated for supporting actor at the Golden Globes. Daniel Kaluuya won the Golden Globe for supporting actor over Jared Leto for The Little Things. So I think we'll start with Judas because of that. I think Kaluuya's Oscar contention is probably a given at this point. It's a great performance, and winning the Golden Globe certainly helps anybody's chances for an Oscar nomination as well. So let's talk about this movie first. And this is about Kaluuya playing Fred Hampton here, who is the head of the Illinois Black Panther Party. And basically, he is or the party, I should say, is being infiltrated by William O'Neill, played by Lakeith Stanfield, who in this film is a career criminal, basically, and has kind of a chance to clear his name, to stay out of jail when FBI agent Roy Mitchell, played by Jesse Plemons, leans on him heavily and suggests that he should infiltrate the Black Panther Party and specifically, keep tabs on Fred Hampton and the goings-on there. But, of course, as you can imagine, that gives O'Neill a lot of, turmoil internally about, is he doing the right thing? Is he being a snitch, basically, and that sort of thing, trying to get out of it. Mitchell is not letting that happen. Martin Sheen is here as well in a brief role as FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover as well. So, look, this movie is certainly a powerhouse from an acting standpoint. Jesse Plemons, first of all, we'll talk about him. I've been following his career since the Friday Night Lights days, but Kaluuya and Stanfield are both incredible here. I can easily see why Kaluuya won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor. What I find interesting, though, is that he was up for Supporting Actor at all, because I think this movie is very much about him. It is also very much about the O'Neill character. So did they both enter in for Supporting Actor? Maybe they did. I don't know. But Kaluuya is the first build in the film, and to me, I think he's probably. I don't know. I don't know who has more screen time. So maybe they both entered in the supporting category. It's hard to say, but either way, it's a great performance, and he certainly deserved to win. But Stanfield, I've been following his career for a little while as well, and it just seems like every performance he gives is better than the last. But look, I'm very glad that we're starting to get a slew of these films taking place in the late 60s, early 70s about Black lives in America. And we saw it recently with several movies. The Small Axe film sort of focused on that time period. The Trial of the Chicago 7, is right in line with this film, and that's over on Netflix. And then even One Night in Miami, the Regina King movie that sort of imagines a conversation with four legends. I gave that an A+. So these movies are coming at us at a very good rate, and I think they're all so timely because we're having, sadly, all of these same problems in America today. And it's hard not to think about some of the stuff going on today when we watch this movie, Breonna Taylor specifically, but, all of the Black Lives Matter stuff. So I think this is a really, really nice joint piece, honestly, with the Trial of the Chicago 7. I recommend watching both of these films sort of in tandem. But Um, the characters are not quite as fleshed out as I would like them to be. I think O'Neill's character gets a little more time for self-reflection, whereas Hampton sort of, because of the way the Black Panther Party, did things, he sort of comes off, really as not quite one note and not one dimensional because of Kaluuya's performance, I think. But I think he's written more as the angry black man trope than I think Fred Hampton probably was. I'm sure Fred Hampton was a bit more nuanced than that, and we don't quite see that in the character. We see it in the performance from Kaluuya for sure, but in terms of the writing, that's maybe my one sort of flaw in this movie. But Shaka King is the director here, and he has really not done many movies. He did one other feature film, and other than that, he's done a handful of TV series. He directed a few episodes of Shrill. He directed some People on Earth episodes, and I think the directing here is one of the brightest spots here. The cinematography too, sort of capturing this era very, very well, and the whole infiltration plot does remind me a little bit of The Black Klansman, the Spike Lee movie, where also based on a true story, where they infiltrated the KKK in that way, and so it's sort of from the other perspective here, because obviously KKK, and the Black Panther Party stand for very different things. But a little bit reminiscent of that. But of course, both real stories that need to be told. So I'm glad they did. Now, if you know what happens to some of these characters, I don't think you'll be surprised necessarily at what happens, at the end of this film. It is very true to what really did go down as far as I have read. So I really like that they were keeping it real, keeping it legitimate, and just giving us some very honest performances. I think Stanfield, man, he is going to be one to watch. I really think he is going to be another, Denzel, Tom Hanks, just somebody that can really just bear it all and do just about anything in a role. It's interesting about Denzel, because we'll talk about him in the next movie, The Little Things. But, we get a much better, I think, sense of O'Neill as a person, better than we do for the Fred Hampton character, because of how he's written. And really, look, he's at more of a crisis. Hampton, it kind of knows, what he is, where he's going with things, etc. O'Neill is having some real issues dealing with that within himself, and I think the performance by Stanfield shows that wonderfully. Another minor nitpick I have about this movie is that both these guys are a bit too old for the role. I mean, Fred Hampton died at 21, and Daniel Kaluuya is, I'm not sure how old he is, but he's got to be older than that. My guess would be, let me see, I'm going to say 32. How old is he? Oh my God, he's 32. Oh, and he just had a birthday. He just turned 32 last week. All right, well, there you go. Maybe I heard that somewhere. That's too on the nose to not have heard that. But anyway, look, he's young looking for sure, but the performances are convincing enough that it almost doesn't really matter. You sort of forget about that. But it is a little bit reminiscent of, some of those classic, like, the CW where they have 30-year-olds playing, high schoolers or whatever. It's not quite that bad. And Kaluuya looks young, but, a little bit of a minor nitpick. But overall, I think that this movie does need to be seen. And there's a few other really, great little minor roles here too. Lil Rel Howery, is here as well as an undercover FBI agent. Jermaine Fowler is here as a Black Panther member. So, some people that we've seen before and other things giving us great performances as well. I'm not sure this movie is up quite to the level of the Chicago 7 or One Night in Miami, but I think it's very good. I think come Oscar time, at least we'll see Kaluuya nominated, maybe Stanfield as well, maybe even, something like Best Picture. I mean, they have up to 10 nominations for Best Picture. I could see this one being a contender in that regard. I leave Judas and the Black Messiah with an A-. Let's move on to The Little Things here, and this is, like I said, Denzel is in this. I also mentioned Jared Leto earlier, who was nominated against Kaluuya in the supporting actor category at the Golden Globes. I'm not sure about this one's Oscar chances. maybe supporting actor for Leto, maybe, but I think that's probably all this movie would deserve. This film centers around Denzel Washington's character, Sergeant Joe Deacon. They call him Deke. And he joins forces with a new partner, Jim Baxter, played by Rami Malek. And they are trying to find a serial killer who is terrorizing the Los Angeles area. And Jared Leto plays one of the main suspects here. And this is a shame, kind of, this movie, because you've got three Oscar winners here. Denzel's won, a couple of times. Rami, of course, for Bohemian Rhapsody. Jared Leto for Dallas Buyers Club. These are three, very, very good actors. Why is this movie such a mess? And I think it can be summed up in a couple of different ways. One is the performances from the actors playing the detectives. Denzel Washington is really just giving us his best Denzel impression. He's basically, I thought, kind of sleepwalking through this role. I mean, like, he's played the grizzled cop so many times at this point in his career, dating back to Training Day and before, that I think this role, maybe it was written with him in mind, but I think they might have done better to just get a Denzel type and kind of give somebody a different personality. He's just very, very, very Denzel here. And that can be an okay thing, it can. But here, I just think he's not giving us enough. And Rami Malek, I really go back and forth on what I even think of him as an actor. I think in the right role, he's very good. I don't think they gave him a lot to work with in this film, script-wise. Now, Jared Leto, he's great. I've been a fan of his, of course, since My So-Called Life, but he is by far the best part of this movie. He gives us this very, very intriguing, weird character that I think, this is great casting. The Denzel casting, I don't know. Rami, but the Jared Leto casting here is on point. He's great in this role. And there's a few twists and turns in this movie where even by the end of it, I think we're not quite sure what has happened, we know what's happened. I don't want to give too much away. We know what's happened, but we don't necessarily know by the end of the movie who exactly is doing the killings, the serial killings. Is it Leto's character? Is it something else? Are we ever going to find out? And as the audience, no, we won't. It's a question of that sort of thing, where it is a little bit open-ended. This is directed by and written too by John Lee Hancock, who has certainly done some work that I've really enjoyed. Saving Mr. Banks, for example, he directed. He directed The Founder, and then he's done a few other things that I could sort of do with or without. But, he directed The Blind Side, which I do like, but it's more of a showcase for Sandra Bullock's acting talent than anything else. So, look, one thing you can say about this guy, he gets really solid performances from many of his A-listers. Certainly Michael Keaton in The Founder, Tom Hanks in Mr. Banks. But, I think Denzel at this point has done the cop routine so much, he probably didn't want to give him too much direction, because he's like, well, he's Denzel, he knows what he's doing. But I think a little more nuance for that character might have gone a long way in this film. So look, I'm trying to do shorter reviews these days, so I think we'll pretty much wrap it there. And it's hard to really do a lot of plot specifics about this because of the twists and turns. I think I've already probably given away too much about the ending of this. But the reason to watch this movie is for Jared Leto's character. I think, for a cop, on the case kind of movie, this is a very generic one. I think both in writing and just in scope, in direction, in the themes. We've seen it all done before. We've certainly seen it done better. And you could throw this on in the background and whatever, but unless you are really like hardcore, like you watch every CSI episode, you love all this stuff, I think this might be one to just skip, unless Jared Leto does get nominated for an Oscar, which is possible. Then you might want to check it out. But for me, this one didn't quite hit the way that I think it was intended to. But I do like the ending. I think the ending will be very divisive for people, but I liked it. I like where they went with it. So for me, The Little Things gets a C plus. A little bit disappointing for sure with this cast of talent. All right, so that's going to do it. We have several more 2020 wrap-up videos to do. I'm sort of holding off on a big documentary video. I've seen 13 documentaries from 2020 that I have not reviewed yet on the show, and I just literally want to give them all like 2-minute reviews, like very quick. But I'm sort of waiting for the Oscar nominations to come out because I bet there's going to be a couple in there that I haven't seen. So I'll just sort of tack them on to that. And there's a few Netflix movies still to get to, Hillbilly Elegy, Mank, that I think will be Oscar contenders as well. So that's all coming up. But we're going to have a lot of standalone videos too, because Coming to America is this weekend. The Raya and the Last Dragon on Disney is this weekend. So we'll have a lot of standalone movie reviews as well coming up on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you back here next time. Bye.